Safari tour guide for today. As a reminder, please keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times. And remember to stay seated as well. It does get a little bumpy out there on our reserve. We're going to stop at this light though for just a second. But if you want to quickly look at your animal spotting guide up above there, that white rectangular box, those are all the animals we do have here. We have a little over 30. Well, we have quite a few animals. That's not going to be a guarantee. We do see all of them today. They do have different migration patterns, but hopefully we can see most of them. Now, currently, we're going to enter into the Little Ituri Forest up ahead here, and this will be home to all of our camouflaged animals on the reserve. So that might be a little hard to see. Our first animal of the day is going to be up ahead there on your right-hand side. You'll see the okapi there with the brownish fur. Its legs kind of look like a zebra there. If you look at that okapi's face, though, you might recognize it with another animal. That okapi is actually related to the giraffe there. You can tell by the shape of its face. And that animal wasn't discovered until a little over 100 years ago. Now, the reason that animal wasn't discovered until recently is because it is one of the most successful camouflaged animals in the world. And you're going to notice that all the antelope here in this Little Ituri Forest do have stripes, and they rely on those stripes for survival because they're really not that fast. They are very, very slow animals here in this forest, but luckily they can rely on their camouflage to escape predators like lions and cheetahs. Actually, I'm going to stop here. If you look to your left, you will see a black rhino there. You'll see it. If you look directly to your left past the water hole up there, you'll see its body's moving. That is a black rhino over there. There's only about 5,000 remaining in the world today, so there's not that many left. You'll see its horn there. That's the reason it's endangered. Usually, it's poached for that front horn, which is a shame because that horn doesn't really have any proven value. That's actually made of the same thing that our hair and fingernails are made of. And actually, there's another one there if you wanted another view. We actually have two here on our reserve, but you'll see that one there on your left. And if you're thinking of the white rhino, that white rhino is a little larger. That one's found in the savannah. The black rhino is far more rare, and it's usually found in the forest area like this one. And you'll see an animal right there on your right-hand side. With the tannish fur, that's the greater kudu. It's right there in the bushes there. But that is a female greater kudu, and she can jump about 6 feet in the air. And there's one more animal here on your right-hand side, on that hill up there. Not many people get to see that animal there. That's the bongo with the orangish fur. Now the bongo, it's actually nicknamed the ghost of the forest because it is almost impossible to find in the wildlife because of how good it is at camouflage. Which is kind of weird because that orangish fur, you wouldn't think it would be that hard to see, but it really is. And there is one more animal there on our left-hand side. You'll see it with the white and blackish fur. It's kind of facing away from us. That is the saddle-billed stork there on your left. And that saddle-billed stork, believe it or not, it is one of the most successfully camouflaged birds in the entire world. And as we exit the Little Ituri Forest, we're going to enter to the Safi River up ahead here. And the Safi River is home to all of our aquatic animals on the reserve. And this is where you'll find a lot of these animals go underwater. Now, they might be a little hard to see. The Safi River is a very murky area. Let's see if we can see anything. On your right, you will see two Nile hippopotamuses there in the water. You'll see them on your right with the purplish color. For those in my back, you won't be able to see it yet, but you'll see them with the ovalish shape there in the water. Now, those hippos actually prefer to be in the water because, believe it or not, their eyesight is actually better underwater than it is out of water. But they're actually too heavy to swim. However, they can hold their breath for about 8 minutes, so they do like to live in that water. And they'll usually stick to the bottom of the water like they're doing right now, and usually they'll just walk along the ground underwater there. Now, we actually recently welcomed a new hippo onto our reserve, and when you do that, it can be a little tricky. Those hippos are very territorial, but it looks like she is fitting in very well there. Now, believe it or not, those hippos are actually the most dangerous animal to humans in all of Africa because they are very territorial. Usually, if they have a new baby or if they are living in a new area, they usually like to be territorial just to let people know that that is their section. Now, as we turn this corner here, we might find another animal up ahead here. I have a feeling that there are going to be some more here because it's a little farther away from those hippos. And it looks like we are going to be in luck. Up ahead on your left, you'll see the giant Nile crocodile there on your left-hand side. And there's some in the Safi River as well. And that is the largest species of crocodilian in all of Africa. Is home to a lot of our faster animals on the reserve. So if you looked at that animal spotting guide, you saw a lot of those predators. They're actually found in the East Savannah. The West Savannah is usually where you'll find a lot of their prey. On your right-hand side, you'll see an upside-down looking tree there. That tree is the baobab tree. Now, that tree is actually very important for the savannah because a lot of animals do rely on that tree for water. And that tree can go without water for about 9 months, which is very important to do because in the savanna up ahead here, there's really not that much water. It's a very dry area. So oftentimes you will see animals drinking from that tree. And it looks like we are approaching that west savanna. You'll see it there on your left-hand side. And the first thing you're going to notice about it is just how open it is. So unlike the little Aturi forest we went through where we saw that black rhino and those bongos and kudus, animals do not rely on camouflage in this area of the reserve. Instead, they rely on their speed for survival. And here we do have the 3rd and 4th fastest land animals in the world in the West Savannah, so hopefully we can see them out. Now, if you do see some animals in the distance, I will talk about them. I'm just going to wait until we get a little bit closer. But you're going to notice that all the animals in the savanna like to stick together in certain areas of the savanna. Usually they do that to have a better chance to survive, because if a lion is nearby, these animals are far more likely to survive if they stick together than they would if they were by themselves. Now on your left, you'll see my favorite animal on the reserve, the African wild dog there. There's about 5 of them there with a tannish and blackish fur. They're all lying down with those floppy ears. Now that African wild dog is one of the most endangered animals in the world, but it's actually the most successful hunting animal in all of Africa. Usually they're pretty accurate when they are hunting. And while they are endangered, luckily there's a lot of conservation efforts around to help that animal. Now up ahead it looks like there is another animal standing up over here. On our left-hand side, you'll see the sable antelope over there with the brownish fur. It has those curvy horns. Now that antelope is the official emblem of our Harambe Wildlife Reserve. And you'll see they do use those horns there. They actually use them to protect themselves. So if a lion jumps on its back, usually they'll use those horns to kind of jab at it just to protect themselves. Now up ahead here, it looks like there are these kind of large statue-looking things here to our right and left-hand side. There's a pretty large one here to our left. These are actually termite mounds. So this one here on our left, there's currently a little over 1 million termites in that mound right now. And usually they'll build those mounds using things like sand and even their own spit. And once it's completed, it is almost as hard as concrete. And animals like the Maasai giraffe and the Hartsman mountain zebra use them as marking posts. So hopefully we'll see those animals out today, because usually they will be found near those mounds. And I don't know exactly why, but usually you'll find termite mounds by the sides of the road like this one here. Usually they do like to live near these roads. And I do see quite a few animals in the distance, but we're going to get a little bit closer, I promise. I'm just going to wait for these trucks to go a little bit farther, but again, you will see them all usually out in the savanna grazing, because they do eat the majority of the day, these animals, so usually you'll just see them eating some of the grass. But if you look straight ahead, it looks like there's an animal with white and black stripes. It looks like there is a Hartsman mountain zebra out in the distance. It looks like there's 2 of them. You'll see them there on your right-hand side. And it looks like there's a baby there as well that we're going to get to see pretty close to. There it is on your right-hand side. Now you're going to see that the baby is on the left there. But the first thing you're going to notice is that these zebras aren't really that large. They're pretty small for zebras there. That's because once a Hartsman mountain zebra is born, that is as long as their legs grow. So once a mother gives birth to her baby's legs are as long as hers. So they're pretty small animals, and the baby's on the left there. Now let's see, this animal's going to be a little hard to see. But you'll be able to see it if you look on that, or over there to your right. It looks like a s'more there. That is the springbok over there. It's not on the hill, it's actually below it a little bit. The springbok over there to your right with the tannish, blackish, and whitish fur. That springbok over there is the 3rd fastest animal in the world. And there's also those wildebeest on your right with the grayish fur. That is the 4th fastest animal in the world. But let's get closer to this baby Maasai giraffe up ahead here. There's one on your left and one on your right. I'll pull up in the middle here for both. Now these Maasai giraffes are the tallest land animals in the world. And they can also run about 35 miles per hour. And you'll usually see them standing up. They only need about 30 minutes of sleep every single day. So usually you'll see them standing like that. And that baby that we saw back there, that was baby Humphrey, and he's about 3 months old. Usually the babies here do spend time at a nursery at Animal Kingdom, and once they're old enough, they are welcomed onto our reserve. And these giraffes, usually you'll see about 6 or 7 of them. Usually 2 or 3 different families do like to travel together. And you'll get a better view of those wildebeest over there on your right. And again, usually these wildebeest will run about 50 miles per hour. We'll see one more of these Maasai giraffes here before we exit this part of the savanna. And those giraffes do rely on their large necks to eat, but sometimes if their necks aren't long enough, they do actually have pretty large tongues that they'll use as well. But as we exit this part of the savannah, we're going to enter into another part here that is inhabited by our largest land animal here on the reserve. And it looks like he is going to be out today. So we'll be able to see him. He's going to be on our right-hand side up ahead here, but it looks like there is a male elephant out. It looks like Rafiki is out as well on our left. You'll see the mandrill monkey on your left-hand side. He's walking over there with the bluish nose there. That is the largest monkey, that mandrill monkey in the world. But let's get closer to this elephant over here, and you'll be able to see this male elephant there on your right-hand side. Now that male elephant there, you can tell he's a male. Usually they're a little smaller than most of the female elephants. And that male will travel by himself, usually. Now we're very lucky to have that male elephant there, because unfortunately elephants are endangered. They're usually poached for the front tusks that they have. But luckily Disney put a conservation effort together and discovered that that elephant is actually afraid of bees. So Disney told farmers from Kenya this news, and those farmers set up gates that kind of look like beehives all throughout heavily poached areas in Africa. And that did actually help keep those elephants away from poachers. And I do want to say I'll remain seated here. This bridge is a little bit bumpy. Now, it looked like that elephant was about ready to eat. Now, those elephants will actually eat up to 300 pounds of food every single day. And while they'll commonly eat things like grass, they also love to eat red clay. And as we enter under this bridge here, if you look up ahead here to your right-hand side, you'll see these kind of curvy lines here in this red clay. These are elephant trunk markings. Now usually an elephant will be in this area to eat that red clay because it's very nutritious. It actually contains a lot of great nutrients and vitamins for that animal. So sometimes you'll see them there. And it looks like the female elephants are out today. And again, the females are a little larger and they do travel together. Now you can tell that these elephants up ahead here are African elephants because an African elephant's ear is actually shaped like the continent of Africa. But let's get closer to these females here. And they are going to be on our left-hand side up ahead. It looks like there is a baby over there as well. So we'll be able to see them there. And there they are. You'll see those two there. There's the mother there eating from the tree up there, and there's the baby right next to her. Now those female elephants are in this area because there are a lot of baobab trees here. Those upside down looking trees. And if you remember, I did say a lot of animals do rely on those trees for water. Elephants are one of those animals, and they'll usually just be seen sucking the water from those trees, and they'll use them as their own juice box. Sometimes you'll see them here. And it looks like we are actually approaching a watering hole up ahead. We're actually going to get to go through this watering hole here. So hopefully we can see some animals here because it is getting a little hot out right now. And it looks like there is a pinkish looking animal up ahead here. It looks like it has pinkish fur up ahead. And there's quite a few of them. It looks like there are some flamingos out. You'll see the greater flamingos there on your left. Now you're probably wondering why they're not really that pink right now. That's because that flamingo there is actually born with a whitish fur, and the only reason they turn pink is because of shrimp. Shrimp contain something called beta-carotene, and beta-carotene causes them to turn into that pinkish color there. So those ones right there are a little younger there. They just haven't had a lot of shrimp yet, but they will get it eventually. And you might notice that that land formation they are standing on there may or may not be a hidden Mickey. And as we exit the West Savannah, we're going to enter into my favorite part of the reserve here, and that is the East Savannah. And the East Savannah is where you will find a lot of the predators here. And it looks like there's going to be two right next to us up ahead here. On our left-hand side, it looks like there are some ostriches here. And you'll see them there on our left. Now those ostriches there, they are predators. If you look down at their legs, they do have a giant front claw that they will use to attack their prey. And those ostriches there are the largest birds in the world. And they can also run about 40 miles per hour. However, you'll see how large they are. They can't actually fly because of how large they are. But again, they do run pretty fast. Here, as I turn this corner, if you all look to your left, you'll be looking for an animal with yellowish and whitish fur that sometimes can be found in this area here. We'll be looking for an animal with yellowish and whitish fur. And I do see one lying down up ahead. Let's see. A little bit closer. There it is. Up ahead on our left, it looks like there is a cheetah out today.
Up here.
And it's going to be on our left-hand side lying down. And there's two of them there on your left.
There's two. There's one further by the fence.
Now those two cheetahs there on your left with the black spots there, that's the fastest animal in the world. And they can run about 80 miles per hour.
You see it?
And you'll see them there. There's one right in front of that little green kind of fence there, and there's also one kind of close to that tree. But those cheetahs there, they are usually only active during the day. So they're like us. And they're not really that intimidating. Usually whenever they see humans, they don't really bother us that much. They are very shy animals. And unlike most predators, they don't actually roar. Instead, they make a meowing noise instead. So they make the same noise a cat does. However, an animal that does roar is out today. And he'll be on our left-hand side here. Looks like there's a male lion there on our left. Now that male lion there, he usually rests 20 hours every single day, so usually he is sleeping. It's pretty rare to see him like this, because usually he's just lying down. And he is by these Kobe rocks here. Usually you'll see these lions on top of these Kobe rocks. You'll see his teeth there. He is one of the fiercest predators in all of the savannah. However, that male lion there actually doesn't do any of the hunting at all. Usually the female lions will do all of the hunting, and the male lion will stay back and protect the cubs. It looks like there is a female lion out today. She'll be on our left-hand side there. She'll be on our left there, lying down next to the male. And there she is. Now that female lion, there are usually about 2 or 3 females that do hunt together, and usually they'll just get the food from that west savannah. And if you are by one of those lions there, you'll know a lion's roar can be heard about 5 miles away. So if you do hear that noise, that's not a good thing, especially if you are an animal in the west savannah. Now let's see if we can see anything up ahead. It looks like there is a very shiny looking object up ahead here that we're going to get pretty close to. And if you remember those ostriches we saw back there, I have a feeling these belong to those ostriches. Let's see if we can see. But those are ostrich eggs there on your right. Now those ostrich eggs there are the largest bird eggs in the world. And that ostrich will lay about 50 eggs each year. Now the reason you don't see an ostrich by that egg right now is because whenever an ostrich lays an egg, they don't actually protect that egg at all. Usually they'll just lay them and keep going because they do have a lot of eggs to worry about every single year. Now as we exit the East Savannah, we're going to enter to the Magadi Glen up ahead here. And the Magadi Glen is home to our warden's post on the reserve. And our warden takes care of all of the animals here. And speaking of animals, it looks like there are going to be some animals out today. Looks like there are some baby Nigerian dwarf goats running around. And they're going to be on our left-hand side there. They were recently welcomed onto our reserve, but you'll see them under this post here. And on top of the post as well. I'll stop right here. Now those goats there are very important to our reserve because they do provide a lot of dairy for us. And you'll see them, they're not really that large. The ones under the post are the parents, so they're not really that big. That's why this gate here is pretty small, so they can't jump that high. But they love to climb. You'll see them on top of that post there. Sometimes you'll even see them get inside that Jeep there. And sometimes they like to beat the horn in that Jeep as well. So they're very entertaining. I do apologize, this section of the reserve here is going to get a tiny bit bumpy. Now, unfortunately, we are nearing the end of our safari here today. But luckily, we got to see a lot of our endangered animals that we have here on the reserve. We got to see that black rhino, those African wild dogs, the elephant as well. And while those animals are endangered, there are lots of ways that we could help them out. If you wanted to, you could recycle some more of your plastic water bottles or turn the water off when you brush your teeth. That'll help the environment, which will help these animal habitats. We're going to go over our last watering hole here. And if you wanted to see some more animals today, I would encourage you all to take another safari ride a little later on, because no safari is ever the same. You might learn some new things you didn't learn from me, and you might see some new animals as well, because no safari is ever the same. At night, sometimes there are spotted hyenas out, and those animals are nocturnal, so usually they're only out at night. But if you wanted to come back and try and see those animals, you're more than welcome to do that. And there's also 2 hiking trails here. We have the Maharaja hiking trail in Asia, which has endangered tigers. And there's also the Gorilla Falls hiking trail, and the exit of this ride has a male gorilla who is out today. Now here at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, we don't like to say goodbye here. Instead, we like to say a common Swahili phrase, and that phrase is Kwaherini, which means to go well. So Kwaherini, thank you so much for being amazing guests today, and I do hope you all have a great rest of your day here at Animal Kingdom. And please watch your